Keep yourself in the loop of everything football. Listen to Alex and Jeremiah on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello there, I'm Jeremiah.
I am Alex, always and forever here.
Dedicated to college and NFL football. The latest football news on and off the field. NFL draft trade rumors. We've got you covered from the NFL, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything else in between. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we discuss the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football, from the latest signings to this year's breakout stars and all of the news in between. As always, I'm Alex.
And I'm Jeremiah.
Hey, Jeremiah, how was your weekend?
It was good, man. Just watch football. Watch football. That's all I did.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool. Did you enjoy that?
I did, and I was so excited to come here and talk about it.
Okay.
I always enjoy watching football, man.
Yeah, it's always a fun thing for me to do. So, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to start the episode by recapping the games of the week so far. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to preview the Monday night game between Phi and Chi, as NFL.com would like to put it, Philadelphia and Chicago.
That sounded like...
it's like a fraternity, right?
That sounded like,
well, it's
like
PHI and CHI.
That sounded like two fraternities going against each other.
Phi versus Chi.
Yeah.
The take of the decade.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I like it. But we'll preview that, and then we'll take a last break, come back, and recap some of the games relevant to us now, telling you the new Week 3 heading into Week 4 AP poll. Top 25 poll.
A lot of changes, folks.
A lot of changes. In those changes, by saying the teams, obviously you can't say one team's now ranked, and you'd be like, okay, well, why? Who dropped out? You know what I mean? Why is this team 3? We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. So let's go ahead and start with Week 2 action in the NFL and recap some of the scores. I normally do it, so Jeremiah, go ahead.
Yes. Recapping the scores of Week 2, you got my San Francisco 49ers heading to the Carolina Panthers. They got dismantled by the reigning NFC champs, 46-27. They did make it a one-score game at one point, but, I'm not surprised.
I don't think it was ever in doubt, personally.
That's what I said. You didn't let me finish. I was not surprised by the final result. Anyways, moving on, the Alex's Pittsburgh Steelers defeats the Cincinnati Bengals 24-16. Mm-hmm. And then we got the Tennessee Titans overcoming, or should I say, a come-from-behind win over the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, they came back and won it.
16-15. And then the Browns blew a 20-0 lead.
20-2 at one point.
Yeah, 22 at one point to the Baltimore Ravens, who overcame a large deficit.
Well, I think, didn't McCown get hurt too, though?
Yeah, but he came back in.
But still,
he got hurt.
Apparently he had it was like debilitating. So
yeah.
I mean, I could totally understand that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So the Baltimore Ravens came back and went 25-20 over the Cleveland Browns. And then you got the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, they're going into a divisional rival, Washington Redskins, with a 27-23 victory. Mm-hmm. And then honestly, this is probably one of the most disappointing games, honestly, because from last year, so much offense. Now this year, this game had a lot of defense, and I'm talking about the New York Giants over the Saints. They won 16-13. Wow, no one ever predicted that score.
16-13, yeah.
No one predicted that score. And then you got Jimmy G and the Patriots, who were smoking the Miami Dolphins at one point. It's 31-3. Mm-hmm. Then when Jimmy G got hurt, which we'll get into later, Dolphins were making a little bit of a comeback, but the Patriots hold on to win 31-24. And then the Houston Texans start the season out 2-0 at home, winning over the Kansas City Chiefs 19-12. And then you got the Los Angeles Rams.
The highest scoring game of the entire week. Check that. Lowest scoring.
Los Angeles Rams defeating the Seattle Seahawks 9-3.
I called that on Thursday.
You did. You sure did. And Ben actually had this game competitive as well. I didn't give the Rams a chance.
They've always been that thorn in the side of the Seahawks the last few years.
I don't get the Rams. How are you going to lose to the Niners 20-0, but then Beat the Seahawks.
Well, Russell Wilson was hurt.
He was.
And their defense is better than it gets credit for. You know, they do have a good front seven. It's just their secondary isn't great, and they just looked kind of lost last week. But the defense isn't a bad defense. It shows up against they seem like a college team that plays to the level of their opponent. You know what I mean? Like, it's a good team, they'll play better. If it's a bad team, they play crappy. You know, they're weird. They're a weird team to get their head around. But they still haven't scored a touchdown yet in the new era of the LA Rams.
Or I got one better.
Okay.
The LA Rams have not scored an offensive touchdown since 1994. Still.
But they've got their first win, and that's
did. And that place was rocking yesterday.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That place was rocking.
they had sold out, games for the preseason, dude. Like,
dude, it was
down
honestly, it was kind of it's a really good sight to see the Coliseum filled with fans for an LA game. It was a crazy sight to see, and they got to win because of it. Not because of it, but they got to win.
They got to win.
They got to win. That's a more important
close
thing.
win, but they did it.
And then we got the Arizona Cardinals dismantling the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 40-7. I don't think I need to go any further.
Yeah, Jameis Winston was responsible for 5 turnovers.
Yeah,
so.
And then we got the San Diego Chargers over my AFC South divisional pick, Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm sorry, man, but
I know. You know what? I'm gonna take the L for that one.
0-2 currently. They got a lot of work to do if they're gonna get that 10-win mark you gave them.
I'm gonna take the L for that one. Okay.
Smart.
I'm gonna take the L for
Very
that
smart.
one. I'm gonna take the L.
I hear that.
I'm sorry. That was a pick I made with
Heard
my heart.
that.
It's a pick I made with my heart. Anyway,
yeah, but
let's
sometimes love blinds you, Jeremiah.
That is true. And then we got the Atlanta Falcons going all the way to the West Coast to face the Oakland Raiders and a victory, 35-28 at the Oakland Coliseum. And then we got the defending Super Bowl champs winning against the Indianapolis Colts 34-20.
And that was the first time that they have. I don't know if they played in 2011 when he was injured, but that is the first time that the Colts and the Broncos have played one another without Peyton Manning on one of their teams since he was drafted in 1998.
That is true. That's true. And
God, he's old.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
And then, of course, the Sunday night football game. It was a pretty good one. It was a good one. The Minnesota Vikings defeat the Green Bay Packers 17-14. I'm going to tell you right now, Sam Bradford looked really good.
He did. Ben and I
really
were talking about it in the sports show. I mean, he's been there for 2 weeks, and the dude was running in no huddle. He was standing in there taking hit after hit, but completing passes. It didn't look great at first, but you realized he was putting together a lot. He had great stats for somebody who's been there literally 2 weeks. He looked like he'd been there since training camp.
And the Stephon Diggs was just a
great
man.
Yeah, that guy was great.
He was a man yesterday, man. All right. Anyway. And so, those were your scores for NFL Week 2.
Now let's take so you mentioned the Vikings.
Yes.
Let's take that and run into our segment on injuries because there's a lot of notable injuries. We had a lot of running back injuries, whether it was Danny Woodhead going down, Amir Abdullah got hurt, Aaron Foster looks like he got hurt again.
Jimmy G got hurt
too. The notables will be Adrian Peterson and Jimmy Garoppolo. So let's start with Adrian Peterson. He hurt his right leg. It looked like his knee hurt him. He had to get helped off. It didn't look like he put any pressure on it. Apparently, Coach Zimmer came out today and said Peterson's knee injury has calmed down, and he's going to get an MRI later today. So we should have news for you tomorrow on exactly what kind of injury it is, and you'll have news later today from the media outlets as well. And
now we'll get on to that as well as on my fantasy football podcast tomorrow.
If it comes out, how that'll affect your team because one thing that always helps a new passer in an offense is a good runner. And vice versa, when that passer becomes better, it helps the runner with space and so on and so forth. So that could be a big loss to them. I mean, Peterson did not look great before he left. Yeah, didn't even have 20 yards rushing. Yeah, didn't look good.
No, he did not get. He kept getting tackled behind the line, and is that the thing that questions me? Is that is it because of his age? Is it because of the scheme? What is it? Is it is Adrian Peterson, is his career on the decline? Maybe. I still think he has a lot of talent, especially at his age. But, he's a running back, and running backs don't age well. I don't expect him to retire. I just don't see it. The Adrian Peterson seems like he doesn't want to give up like that. Mm-hmm. He wants to go out on his own terms. But, this injury to Adrian Peterson, huge for the Vikings because, you got a quarterback who's only been in for 2 weeks, even though he looked good yesterday. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's going to look like that every week.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers have a good core of defense, But who knows how exactly they're going to look. I know what you mean. I think yeah, they need him, and it's going to be tricky to see if he misses time, really.
And lucky for the Vikings, they got playmakers on offense, other playmakers at different positions, like Stephon Diggs. He had 182 yards receiving yesterday.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Nice big receiver, nice big receiving target, tight end wise for.
And then you got Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah,
too,
Kyle Rudolph, good for any quarterback to
yeah,
have a good tight end. I know what you mean. Yeah, it's really going to be interesting to see how they go. I mean, they have a lot of kind of unproven names at the wide receiver position, but they're quietly good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But let's move to somebody who you're quite a fan of, and that's Jimmy Garoppolo. He has he has a sprained AC joint in his right shoulder. He got hammered.
Yes, he did.
He fell on that thing hard, and it looks like he's going to miss this upcoming week. He could be back for week 4 though. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, now they're left with full rookie. You know, not just Mr. Garoppolo, who hasn't thrown many passes in a real game.
No, he is a real rookie.
Rookie Jacoby Brissett, who is going to be starting games for them, at least one.
Yeah, he's going to definitely start Thursday night against the Houston Texans.
Short week.
Short week.
You know,
against a good defense too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very tough defense.
Throw him into the fire.
Yeah, and you got to kind of feel bad for Brisket in a way. Lucky for him though, you know, he's on the Patriots with a lot of talent. But he's still rookie.
Yeah, and they're still missing guys like
they're still missing
Gronk. I think they're still missing Solder.
Yeah, they're still missing Deion Lewis.
Yeah. Still missing a lot of pieces, and they're still winning games, which is impressive. But yeah, Jacoby Brissett's gonna have to. He's gonna have to really, learn on the fly this week. It's gonna be a tough week for him. It really is.
They're definitely gonna simplify the game for him. They're probably gonna run the rock with LeGarrette Blount. They probably
who had a good game this week.
He had a heck of a play too. He had that hurdle in the game.
I feel like he hurdles people all the time.
He does, yeah.
He did it. I mean, as soon as his third game in rookie year, he hurdled somebody when he's on the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
You know? But no, I mean, if Belichick's been coaching for so long for a reason, he knows how to, he knows how to do it. So I'm definitely. I mean, it's another game I'm interested in. I'll be watching it, and we'll be recapping it. Well, at least you will be on Friday.
Yeah, I will.
All right, let's take. Go ahead.
But the Jimmy G injury does kind of hurt me. It hurts me too because he was doing. He was so well, man.
He was doing, especially in that game alone.
In that game alone, in
the first quarter almost.
It was going to be a highlight reel.
It kind of is.
That was going to be the game that was getting paid. It was going to get him paid. It was going to get him paid, but
he's getting paid when he goes to the Dolphins next year
or the Niners. I don't know. I'm kidding. I don't want to go that far.
Yeah, now you're loving too hard right now.
I know that. I'm sorry. That was a little too much of a homer there.
That's okay, man.
But anyways, yeah, man. It kind of pains me to see, Garoppolo hurt. He was having such a great game, and then, all of a sudden he had that injury. The Patriots, they kind of almost let the lead slip away.
Almost.
But they did win the game.
Hey, hold on, dude. See, that's something, too, that my last thing I'll mention before we take our break, that's something, too, with Garoppolo's. He needed, a more established quarterback knows to throw that ball away long before where he ended up getting hit. So that's just a growing thing he's going to have to learn, And I'm sure he will. He seems like a smart guy. He picks up the offense. It seemed like very quickly with that team. So
yeah. Looking for the Patriots, Tom Brady's going to miss 2 more games.
Yeah.
And then by the Jimmy G should come back for the Week 4 game, and then they have the bye week, and then there you go, Tom Brady's back.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just weathering the storm right now. But we'll go. Okay, so let's take our first break. Yeah, and we'll come back and we're going to preview tonight's game, which isn't as highly anticipated, I feel like, of some of the games this week, but it should be a good game. And like I said, between Phi and Chai. We got Philadelphia Eagles facing off at home for the Chicago Bears, so Soldier Field for the Bears. It's gonna be it's gonna be a Monday night game in the cold. It's colder there already, right? Chicago gets cold around this time of year. I imagine it's getting not like it's gonna be in November, but it's getting chilly in the Windy City.
It's supposed to be 71 degrees tonight.
That's a nice game. That's a nice game. I was in Sonoma area yesterday, and it was like 98 degrees, and there's these guys playing baseball. I was like, I remember playing baseball in like 100 degrees. It sucks. Wearing pants and stuff. But yeah, between
playing football in 98-degree weather sucks.
Oh, I know, especially with the turf because it's hotter. Yeah. Oh man, don't get me started. But yes, Carson Wentz's second start of his career against the
and
Chicago
we're gonna find out if he's gonna be for real or not.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it on Wednesday when we get into our for real segment. Not to mention, on Wednesday we have a new host.
Yes, we do. No co-host. We're still gonna be here, people.
Well, yeah, we have a new co-host.
You made it seem like
I did not.
Yeah, you did.
Jeremiah's gone. He's leaving.
Why are you no?
Okay, anyways, we're going to take our first break. We're going to come back, and we're going to preview that game real quick. So we'll be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, and we're going to get previewing the Monday Night Football game.
Man, that was dramatic.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. So, yes, it is a game between NFC teams, Philadelphia Eagles visiting Soldier Field there, and the Chicago Bears. It is going to be Carson Wentz's second start as a pro in the NFL, and he had a pretty good first start, throwing for 278 yards and 2 touchdowns.
And I think he's going to have another one.
Do
tonight.
you?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I do indeed. The Bears, they lost 23-14 last week to the Houston Texans.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think Wentz, he is missing Zach Ertz, who's going to be out for a couple of games, I think around at least 4 weeks.
I forget what it is.
For reports that I read. But he does have playmakers that are kind of underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Carson Wentz has Jordan Matthews, who's kind of been the number one receiver.
He's the number one guy.
Yeah, he's not really. I think he's honestly an underrated receiver in this league.
Mm-hmm.
They got Nelson Aguilar, who looks like he's more, involved in this offense now.
Yes,
and he's probably going to be more involved with Ertz on the sidelines. So yeah, I'm excited to see Carson Wentz. It's a national televised game going against the Chicago Bears. A team that doesn't really have a lot of going on for them on the roster.
Nothing huge.
They don't have a defense and all that. They do. And then we're gonna see Jay Cutler too. If you want to watch him.
I mean, Ben personified it so well in the first show. Cutler can go out and he can throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. But you also wouldn't be surprised if he goes out and throws for 100 yards and 3 picks.
Yeah.
That's just how he is. You know what I mean? Langford had a pretty decent game for the Bears last week, 57 yards and a touchdown. Alshon Jeffrey had 105 yards, only on 4 receptions. They have power in the offensive plays,
I have a better way to put Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get with him, man. What?
Jeremiah.
What?
You watch baseball, right?
Yeah, I do.
You ever heard of the phrase swing and a miss?
Yeah. That was it?
You swung and missed, man.
Dude, you
just swung a garden hose at a golf ball.
Okay, let's move on.
But to be fair, you made me laugh, so I'll give you that.
But you didn't.
I giggled internally. It was like a,
like a fangirl laugh. Okay, well, anyways, let's move on, shall we? Okay, so anyways, I'm really excited to see Carson Wentz on the national televised game because a lot of people are going to find out about Carson Wentz tonight if you don't know already. And
that's true. I'd probably be watching this game no matter what. But the Eagles are playing the Steelers next week, so I was going to give it a little deeper of a look. But even before that, I like quarterbacks, so I was probably going to be watching this for Wentz anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean? That's the same
especially
thing.
Rookie quarterbacks.
That's the same thing too. I want to see Carson Wentz a full game with him. I didn't get a chance to see that last week, but I am excited to see Carson Wentz. Pretty much watching him for a full game, and of course we will talk about it tomorrow. Yep. And I actually have the Philadelphia Eagles winning this game.
I do too.
Yeah, I have the Philadelphia Eagles winning
ESPN has
this game.
it pretty close, 41.2, 58.5 in favor of the Bears. But I got the Eagles winning this one.
And this is going to be a better Monday night game than the 49ers and Rams. I'll tell you that right now.
Knock on wood, Jeremiah, man. You can't go saying that and being so sure about it. Who knows? But you're right, probably going to be.
Yeah. I think the rest of the nation agrees with me on that one.
Probably.
Yeah.
Do you have a score prediction?
I do not. I don't predict scores. That's so hard.
I predicted with Ben. I said 24-14.
No, because I predict scores on like the during the first week, before the first weekend. I was kind of wrong, so it's kind of hard. Because
I try not to. I'll give it like one game.
Because I had the Saints and Giants game, yesterday as a high scoring game, and I was completely wrong. I'm like,
and you had the Thursday night game as a close game.
Yeah,
a low scoring game.
Yeah, and it went to
37-31.
It went for more than 60 points. Who would have predicted? So I don't predict scores anymore because of that.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Okay, well I'll give you a brisk 24-14. How about that?
24-14
in favor of the Eagles.
All right. Okay.
10
okay.
points.
I like it.
You have a star of the game you're gonna predict?
I'm gonna go with Jordan Matthews.
I'm gonna go with Carson Wentz.
1, because he's on my fantasy team, and then 2, he's a playmaker for
How about
Carson
this?
Wentz.
Let's say okay, now give me a possible Bears playmaker, like somebody who's gonna set the game apart for them. I'll say Langford.
Langford, okay. Is Kevin White playing tonight?
He should be, yeah.
I'm gonna go with Kevin White. He's not a rookie, but he practically is a rookie receiver. He's someone that the Bears kind of need to be involved in this offense, especially for Jay Cutler, because Alshon Jeffrey's probably most likely draw a lot of double teams, not just in this game, but probably all season, because he's their number one guy. I'm gonna go with Kevin White having a possible breakout game against the Eagles. Yeah.
So Wentz and Jordan Matthews and Langford and Kevin White.
Yeah.
All right, I can dig it. So let's dig our way to our second break. We'll come back, and then we will update you on the AP Top 25 poll and some of the reasons why these teams dropped or rose in the rankings. How about that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. All right, let's take our last break here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, and we will be right back. Jeremiah, can't wait to see you guys again. Can you? Can you wait? Can you
No!
wait? Okay. All right, guys, be right back.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, and we are now talking about college football, specifically the new AP Top 25 poll, and there are some new teams in the poll.
Yeah, you can say that.
And there's some teams that are dropped off, and there's a team that got some votes but didn't quite make it, and we'll talk about that later. But the biggest rise in the poll was Louisville.
That's not the biggest. Not numbers-wise.
Not numbers-wise,
probably
but
most significant.
But on the poll, it was really significant.
Yeah, significant
actually, no,
raise.
the biggest rise, which is the team we'll talk about later, and it's not what you expect it to be. But the most significant rise is Louisville. They jumped from 10 to 3 after dismantling Florida State on Saturday.
Who saw that coming?
I didn't.
Not dismantling.
Because I originally picked Louisville to win that game on Friday's show, and I thought it was going to be close. I did not think that Louisville was going to run wild on Florida State, and Lamar Jackson was just putting on the show, and he's leading the Heisman race right now.
Yeah, if he wasn't at the end of the game, he is 2 days later. With this reaction to it. I mean, he had an amazing game. Yeah,
and the whole team had an amazing game. Yeah. There were so many questions regarding Lamar Jackson and this defense, the Louisville Cardinals. Cardinals defense, they did pretty well containing DeAndre Francois, Dalvin Cook, pretty much the whole offense.
Yeah,
they couldn't do anything.
Yeah, they looked pretty powerless throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah, and
throughout a lot of it.
And Lamar Jackson was just putting on the show, so we found out a lot about this Louisville Cardinals team, which is something that I previously said last week. And I think after this performance, I think they are for real. I think they're for real. And they got a tough matchup in 2 weeks versus Clemson. That's going to be a fun one to watch. And depending on how these teams, they're probably both going to win their games this Saturday. Mm-hmm. So that's probably going to be a top 5 matchup in 2 weeks.
Yeah, currently Clemson's 5. To recap some of the rest of the top 10, Ohio State moved up from 3 to 2. Like you said, Louisville's there at 3 now. Michigan and Clemson and Houston and Stanford are all the same, 4, 5, 6, and 7. But Michigan State moved up from 12 to 8, 4 spots. Washington moved down 1 spot from 8 to 9 after beating Portland State, but you imagine that would...
Oh, and Alabama's still number 1, guys.
So, yeah, like I said, Alabama's still number 1.
Yeah.
Duh. And to close out the top 10, Texas A&M went to 7 spots forward in the poll from 17 to 10. Now, some notable rises and falls. Obviously, Florida State did drop all the way from 2 to 13. Miami, the U, moved up 10 spots from 25 to 15.
Yeah, after I really thought Appalachian State had a chance to upset, and I was wrong. I will take the L on that one, guys. Don't worry.
That's smart. That's smart of you.
I'll take the L.
Arkansas moved up from 24 to 17. 18 moved up 2 spots, LSU being 18 from 20 to 18.
Oh, and Baylor moved up to 16 after being 21 last week.
Mm-hmm. Florida moved up 4 spots, 23 to 19. Nebraska's now ranked at 20.
Yes. And Texas
dropped big.
They dropped after that wild loss Saturday night from 11 to 21. Mm-hmm. And at 22, we got a Mountain West team in the poll now.
Hand on deck.
Hands on deck. San Diego State is now ranked at 22.
And we have another Pac-12 team in Utah at 24.
Yes, and Ole Miss dropped from 19 to 23, and Oklahoma dropped again from 14 to 25.
Spots.
And I seriously think Oklahoma's chances of the playoffs are pretty much now done. They are done.
Yeah, definitely done, in my opinion.
And the most notable, drops, well, not drops, but teams that are completely out of the poll now is Iowa, Notre Dame.
Oh, Iowa, yeah.
And Iowa lost to FCS Power, North Dakota State, who actually got some votes in there. They were tied with UCLA for 74 votes. So that pretty much makes them tied for 27th overall in the country.
Mm-hmm. And, this isn't the first time they've done this. They've beaten 5 Power 5 conference teams in the last 5 or 6 years. They're just known for doing it. Let me put it this way: stop scheduling them.
Exactly.
Guys.
Why are
you
scheduling this team? First of all, they're like 73 and 5 since like 2010. Probably one of the top, Division I programs overall. And that is 1A and AA, for that matter. You gotta stop scheduling. They're not that cupcake team. They're not freaking.
They're not UCF.
They're not. Yeah, come on. They're not a cupcake team, guys.
But at the same time,
they're not.
School's not gonna be like, "Oh, we're afraid of them. We're not gonna go."
They're not Sac State. They're not UC Davis.
Oh my Lord.
They're North Dakota State. All right.
We are North Dakota State.
North Dakota State. That's what. Come on. You gotta stop scheduling this team.
Again, they're not gonna be afraid of another team. You say it lightly, but at the same time, they're not going to be like, whoa, you can't play them. They're going to beat us. They're supposed to be better, so they're going to have to prove that, But, hey, man, North Dakota State's been proving something of their own.
And we might have a segment on that Team Tomorrow show.
Yeah, we might just do that.
We might just do that.
But in that aspect, today's show's over.
Yeah, man, that was quick, man.
Yeah, man, tell them where they can find us.
You can find us everywhere, Except for MySpace. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I had to drop a MySpace. I had to throw it old school, man. You won't find us on cassette, or you won't find us on a compact disc. Yes, I said it, compact disc.
What about you said cassette, didn't you?
I did say cassette. What about a VHS?
What about Laserdisc?
Yeah. Wow, you're going way back. That was way before we were born.
Laserdisc?
Yeah.
Wasn't that in the mid-90s?
Yeah, okay, you get
we
right.
were born.
Yeah,
come on, man.
Well, I was born yesterday. I'm kidding. Okay, anyways. All right, to be serious, you can find us on variety platforms, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, and SoundCloud. You can find us on variety of social media platforms as well, except for MySpace. I got to get that out there. You can follow us on Twitter at GSMC_. Football, and you can follow us on Instagram at the same handle. That is at GSMC_football. And you can like us on Facebook at the Golden State Media Contest Football Podcast.
Yeah, man.
And you can also listen to this show on the GSMCpodcast.com website. And starting tomorrow, I'm actually going to do the Fantasy Football Podcast by myself.
Slow clap for you.
By myself. So that's going to be my show. Well,
Wow.
not technically my show. I don't own it, but I am going to host it by myself. I'm only going to host it by myself on Tuesdays. I will have one of our new personalities here, Anthony. He is actually going to join Alex and I on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and he's going to join Ben and I on Fridays. So he's going to do the show Wednesday through Friday.
He's also joining my sports show.
Yeah, he's also going to do that as well, and he's also going to join my fantasy football show on Fridays. So there is that.
Pretty exciting. A lot of changes coming up.
We are moving up.
Moving on up.
Like Fat Joe and Remy Ma, I'm all the way up.
All right. Well, on that note,
we all the way up.
We're all the way gone. Let's go ahead and leave it on that note. Jeremiah Martinez, let's go ahead and get out of here, huh? You like that?
Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here.
As always,
we're all the way out.
Oh my God! As always, thank you guys for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with Jeremiah, and we'll see you then.